A war of succession has engulfed a peninsular kingdom in a low fantasy setting, and a few years into the conflict, neither side has managed to gain the upper hand despite large expenditures of blood and treasure. The main thrust of the story follows three central characters. Alessia is a nun and surgeon who quits the religion when brutal action by Lord Torix forces the church to abandon its neutrality and commitment to serve all in need. She heads out into the war-torn landscape hoping to heal any who are sick or injured, regardless of their political affiliation. Olnoth is a farmer who loses everything in a punitive military action, so he commits himself to revenge against both sides of the conflict for having dragged the land into this desperate state. Corin is a deserter who sees no glory and no future in the increasingly cruel war. These protagonists form the core of an organic resistance movement of common people who believe the only way to survive the war will be to rely on each other and steal from both sides, since neither is upholding their oaths of lordship. If you want to know more about the author, Eric Lewis, you can check him out on his own eclectic channel where he talks about books, video games, and his writing process, among other things. I think at the time of the posting of this video, he is still looking for beta readers for his newest novel, so if that appeals to you, go to his channel and contact him. In its broad strokes, The Heron Kings is a fantasy novel of what we would now call asymmetrical warfare, where commoners and peasants, tired of openly abusive and short-sighted leadership, discover a means of acting on their discontent. The story is nonetheless unglamorous, and it does not make its protagonists or their impromptu insurrection seem like a panacea for all the ills of their society. This book is not a YA dystopia where a lead character with impossibly good hair can bring down the machinery of oppression in just a few weeks. A major aspect of this novel that appealed to me is that it is largely about people being victimized by war and an inherently unjust political system. The protagonists are not important people in the grand scheme of their society, but their unwillingness to endure continued depredations and discover a sense of self-worth on their own terms, I found an appealing take. In particular, I was interested to see how characters had to make compromises with themselves and with each other, not only to achieve their goals, but also to simply survive. They all want something, but almost by accident, they become de facto leaders of an anarchist Robin Hood type situation, which is not what any of them intended. While some readers might think the book moves too fast, I appreciated the speed of the novel and would argue that the pace is deceptive. There is plenty that happens, but the author's style is dialogue heavy. The chapters are also short and focused, so it always feels like progress is being made even if you're not entirely sure where it's going. The idea of a goal beyond surviving and waiting out the war doesn't really emerge until after the halfway point. The Heron Kings manages to tell a complete story in 300 pages, which is something a lot of contemporary fantasy writers are allergic to doing. There are some weaknesses to the novel. There are some language choices I'm not keen on, and by that I mean the characters often speak in a contemporary vernacular, and sometimes about concepts or theories that do not exist in the setting. A lot of the secondary characters blur together, and given how the story is structured, the ending section can feel rushed and possibly even anticlimactic. With the nature of the subject matter too, there is a lot of unpleasantness, like torture, killing of non-combatants, and threats of sexual violence, so be warned. What was the biggest stumbling block for me were the human antagonists, Torix and Vinian. The former is objectively villainous and calls to mind Captain Vidal in Pan's Labyrinth. The problem here, however, is that aside from 2 or 3 scenes, he's never in the presence of the protagonists. He is less a character than he is a stand-in for militarized sadism. Vinian is the disfigured spy mistress of the would-be Queen Angwara, and while she gets some third act character development, it's too little, too late. She's just an unrepentant part of this system of repression. These critiques lead me to my main complaint in that the real antagonist is the reckless and wasteful war, which arguably is also part of the setting. I don't really care about the particulars because the claimants for kingship and their various attendants don't really matter. Both sides have abused and destroyed the land and people they claim is their right to rule. The regular people, like the three protagonists, see no difference in either side and haven't been able to live with dignity or freedom in some time, even before the devolution into warfare. There are times when we get hints about the rippling effects of other common people, similarly discontented, who take matters into their own hands, following the Heron Kings' lead. To me, that is far more interesting and fitting with the main developments and themes of the story, rather than the subterfuge and geopolitics that we get in the back half of the novel. But what do you, the audience at home, think? Am I wrong for wanting something other than what the novel gave me? Have you read The Heron Kings or any other books by Eric Lewis? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. I think this book would appeal to readers who enjoy Joe Abercrombie's novels. Also, if you're a fan of Red Dawn from 1984, The Heron Kings has some of the same atmosphere of a nearly hopeless underdog rebellion. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my peculiar notions. If you appreciate this channel and want to support it, you know what to do. You can also take a moment to like, comment, share, or subscribe to the channel of another YouTube creator you enjoy, or the algorithm will start killing off all the wounded. Until next time, read some good books, live, and be well.